Welcome to Business Helpline Beyond the Business Show. Today we're meeting Glenn Stock at Unique Clean, who's grown from a window cleaning round to over 50 staff over the last couple of years. We're discussing the perils of business, the challenges within business, and what it takes to become successful, and also what the future holds for Unique Clean. Hi, it's Az at Business Helpline Beyond the Business Show. So today we've got Glenn with us. Hi Glenn, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
So can you just give us a bit of a background of yourself and how Unique got going and how it all started?
Yeah, absolutely. We started about 10 years ago as a sole trader company. And it basically all started, I was in the fire brigade, and at the time I've come out of the armed forces, was in the fire brigade, and we got called out to some bad fires at back end of Colne, and it all come down to who was obviously going to be cleaning these houses, and there were a lady there with a young child, and this had gone on for a couple of weeks where this house hadn't been cleaned. Anyway, eventually obviously that got sorted out, but I looked into fire and flood restoration, crime scene cleaning, so obviously we've been in the fire brigade, having a bit of spare time during the day, bought a window clean round, but then sat a couple of courses, which were the crime scene cleaning course and the fire and flood restoration course. And then from that, obviously, I had the window cleaning round, and then just tried to obviously push for certain works within them industries, which were very difficult because you needed your insurances, your accreditations as well. They didn't tell you all that. They just give you this qualification and you thought, right, that's it, I'm good to go. But obviously not. The accreditations then had to be done, which took another 6 months. So I ended up subbing to another company, which was good because they had everything in line, their accreditations, their insurance, everything. So it gave me a really good insight to what I was, letting me sell in for. But obviously, the second time, I weren't having to pay out full insurance and accreditation straight away, and I just slowly just kind of got them accreditations and insurance, and picked up a few clients, and like kind of a bit of a social media thing at the time, and it kind of picked up a little bit from there, really.
So just taking you back a little bit to what you said there about you being in the armed forces, taking you back a little bit further than that, because I know obviously you did something what I did with public services. Yeah. Now, how do you feel the public services actually put you in a situation or a good stead to go on with life? Because obviously you do have a ethos and a bit of a background after coming out of public services, which is very positive. As you know what you go through with public services, I can remember you being a minute 10 press ups for a minute late and all that kind of stuff. But I think it gives you sort of a bit of a grounding ultimately as well, to probably be a successful business owner ultimately. Yeah,
no, absolutely. The public service course were very good for me because it was very more hands on. It weren't a lot of paperwork, exams. A lot of it were about doing it rather than actually sitting at a desk and and kind of filling out reams of paper, which to be fair is just not me, and it's still like me these days. No. But then obviously I was halfway through the course and I thought, right, I'm ready to join the armed forces. So I left. I was supposed to have 2 years, and after the year I went and joined the Royal Corps of Signals, to which then led on to me being a physical training instructor up at Info Barracks at York. Very successful in doing a lot of sport for the army, skiing, boxing, football. So it was very, very good insight to life for me, and it gave me some life experiences that I've brought into the business. You learn sometimes how to speak to people, how to hold yourself, how to be confident. And I think if I hadn't done the public service course, which were extremely good course at Nelson Colne College, I don't think it'd give me that stepping stone to the armed forces.
Yeah, I think it also gives you a bit of a mental strength. From that perspective, you've got to be very resilient as an individual to do certain things there as well at the same time.
Absolutely. The course built the confidence up and you're ready to obviously go into the military, and then it kind of just grows within the military, and that's what obviously the military does. They kind of break you and then rebuild you the way they want, but you've kind of got to have a good grounding and background on what to expect. So the transition from the college into the armed forces into the fire brigade, and then bringing all them qualities and picking the special qualities out in all them and setting up your own business, it's given me a really good stance on setting up a business.
Because I think you've got to have certain resilience as an individual within business, because you have your good and bad times. Ultimately, it's always up and down in business. Some people not maybe better than others, but I think it is like that. Every
day is a learning day. In business, you got it. One morning you can be on such a high. You've got a contract. You've won the contract. and then later that day you can have problems maybe potentially with staff, or actually you get the contract and then fulfilling the employment side of the contract can be the problem. So you've got this contract, and we're going to make all this money, and you go, can't get the staff.
No.
So them are the problems, you know what I mean?
I think a lot of businesses who we speak to are in a very, very similar scenario where staffing is a massive issue in regards to maybe not even getting the staffing, getting the right staffing, and getting the right staffing with the right ethos as well at the same time. And it's not easy.
Well, I don't really want to mention the word COVID, but I think COVID's had a big blame to it all. I mean, when you actually, we're looking for staff, and all our staff need to be drivers, and that's because we're all over the country. So, we can get a good member of staffing, but they can't drive, but then we can't get them to the job.
No, I get you.
But then you get somebody who can drive, but then they can go on and earn probably double the money driving for Amazon or driving, delivering drivers, because obviously that's so big at the moment.
Yeah.
So we're struggling to get people who can actually, or want to do this job, and also have got a driving experience, never mind qualifications within the cleaning industry. We're up against it completely.
So is that more of a local thing, or do you think that's nationwide?
Everyone I speak to, we've bin to a networking meeting this morning, and everyone's talking about getting staffing. Everyone's struggling for staffing levels. Like you say, you used to be able to get people in with experience in the cleaning industry, with a driving license, and you used to be able to turn people down. You know what I mean? Now we're struggling to get people through the door. We are obviously promoting within, and qualifying our staff up to management within, but that don't give us the amount of numbers that we possibly need. I think the good thing is everyone's in the same predicament throughout the country. So people are understanding when you're saying, well, I can't get there today, it's going to have to be next week.
And it's difficult because that could stop the growth of a business as well at the same time, at a difficult time as well for a lot of businesses.
Oh, absolutely. And then you book it in for the week after and you're doing some high level work and the weather kicks in. And then before you know it, you can't do it because of the weather then, for example, because you're outside and you've obviously got your risk assessments to follow. So, it's very challenging in testing times. The good thing in the cleaning industry, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's floods or fires or any sort of disaster, we're always needed. So we do always have work. We've never struggled with the amount of work, but what we have done is, we are struggling at the moment, is upping our number of skilled staff, because you pulled anyone in and put them on a job, you're only as good as your last job and your reputation's on the line then.
And that's essentially what you've got to be careful of as well, because whoever is working for yourself is representing you as an organisation.
Absolutely,
Now, obviously, just coming back to a little bit how it all started, I understand, obviously, you started off with a window cleaning round.
Yes.
Which is great from thinking about, obviously, small to big as a business. Can you give us a bit more insight into how that all worked for you?
Yeah, so I just bought a small window cleaning round, and I was on call with the fire brigade at the same time. So if my bleeper went, I would drop in ladders and running across the market square into Colne fire station and jumping up fire engine. So from base at that, I kind of just went round knocking on houses who didn't have window cleaners. There were new houses built near myself who obviously would pick them up. And then what I then did is took a bank loan out and I bought 4 McDonald's window cleaning rounds, which started at like 5:30 in the morning till 8:30. So I got a good bit of revenue in before I even started the rest of my work.
Your main job.
It kind of, it was like the big stepping stone for a revenue. And then obviously once you got the McDonald's on board, people then started recognising you were doing a good job because you had a big name brand on there. So from that then we started going into the commercial game. I started picking up which used to be land lease, which then went to NJ, now has gone to Equans. We've done them schools now for 6-7 years, looking after all the schools and hospitals in the local area. We've been looking after Boundary Mills now for quite some years, and Bannies, and worked for Barnfield, Eric Ratts, all the local big companies. We seem to get a good reputation with and work with. Don't get me wrong, along the lines, there's certain hiccups that you do, but the main thing I think in business is to always, if there is something that hasn't just gone quite right for whatever reason, is actually making that problem right and, moving forward from it.
I think sometimes in business things will go wrong. But then sometimes just sitting back and looking at assessing the situation, thinking which is the best way to tackle this scenario ultimately. And whether that's good or bad, obviously you've got your successes and you've got your failures ultimately. That comes on to you as a director. Now, how do you believe that you managed your business as a director? How do you think you are as a director? And being a director alone is not an easy job, having so many staff and employees to look after. It's not easy. But
I am 100 mile an hour, and I don't just sit and kind of want to just do one thing. I mean, like at the moment, we've got unique Clean Air Facilities Limited, Coalition FM, we've got the Unique Property, now chairman of Colne Football Club. You know, I am keeping busy with...
Very busy.
Very busy. But, you know, I do enjoy it. I think the good thing is I've got a good management staff underneath me in every area, or alongside me, should I say. So it allows me to look at other ventures, and I think that's the big thing. You know, our management that we've got here have been with us a long, long time. So they know how we operate, you know, what we expect of each other, really. But yeah, I can't sit still. I'm always thinking.
That is definitely something what I was discussed with another business owner, and I said, what would you have done differently? And he said to me, what I did 20 years ago, I didn't have the right team around me.
Yeah.
Then I have had in the last 5 years, which has been a lot more successful than it was.
Yeah.
And it shows that you need the right people around you to become more successful in the long term, ultimately. And it's not just about you, it's about your staff having your same ethos, your drive and all that kind of stuff what goes with the business.
Absolutely. But making mistakes, you know, it's not. I'm not going to sit and say we've not made some big mistakes, as long as we're... The main thing I think is, if you make a mistake, is learn from it, improve from it, and don't make it again. Don't make the same mistake again, because obviously that can be costly. But I think mistakes, or, you know, trying different avenues or different routes within business, you know, you have to do it, or else you'll stalemate. You're not moving forward. You know, even trying new stuff with technology, investing into it. If it doesn't work, then at least you train, and, you know, there's always opportunities, there's always something coming up somewhere along the line.
I am actually a big believer in failure will lead to success.
Absolutely.
I mean, I fail. You know, people do fail within business, and something's really gone really well. You can do the same thing the year after, and you do really, really well, and then not successful the year after. So it's just sometimes the economy, the climate, and whatever else goes with it, and you get a little bit of wind behind you as well at the same time, and a bit of luck. But in failure, it does also come success, because you've tasted that little bit of failure and you don't want to go back there.
I agree with that. And I think, you know, you've got to look at your family situation as well in this. You know, when you've got newborns potentially, obviously when my two young ones were young, you know, it's a lot more stressful, you know, a lot more demanding, you know. So because of that in mind, now they've got a bit older, there is a bit more flexibility of women being at school, in sports clubs, that type of scenario. So I think people do forget that, you know, you've got to look at what your situation were at that time has an impact on how you do in your day-to-day work the next day. You know, if you've got a baby and you're up all night, it does have an impact, doesn't it?
This is my next question was how do you manage your work-life balance with your family, ultimately?
It's, I think, a big lesson, and COVID were a good thing for this. I don't come into work now before 9, and we do finish technically at 3 o'clock, and I do try and get the managers to have their time with children, taking their children's school and pick them up, because I think it's a massive plus that has to happen. But one of the big things is, you know, I do when I pick them up from school is try and isolate to them, phones kind of on silent, and then give them a bit of that time that they need. You then have to pick the work up afterwards generally, you know, when they're in bed and stuff like that. But to be fair, in the early stages, and that's one of the mistakes that I've learnt from, or tried to learn from, is you just seem to be constantly on the phone all the time, and you think, I'm doing it for them, They don't want that. They want your time.
And that's one thing I've definitely done, is I don't have my work emails on my phone at all, and I finish 3 days a week. I finish at 3 o'clock, and just to give that time back to your children, because you don't really. I've got some older kids, but once you've been through that once before, and when you got younger kids now, like I have, you realise actually, you know, you don't have much time, do you? You've got to put that time and effort into your children as well at the same time.
Absolutely. Another big thing is personal development on myself is obviously doing the golden hour in the morning, getting up in the morning, having that hour to yourself before your kids are even awake, you know, the positivity side of things. And
I was going to ask you that, what motivates you? Because a lot of my go-to is obviously you do listen to podcasts, you do certain things what keeps you positive minded, and it's really difficult sometimes. Business can have bad news, but you've got to be the person who's always positive and driving it forward ultimately, no matter what's happened, essentially. So what's your go-to? What do you do? You know, like you just mentioned there, what do you do normally to...
So in the morning, get up way before the kids are awake. You know, I do the positive reading, you know, I do the gratitudes before bed, because, you know, you can always go to bed thinking a bit down, but the one thing I believe in, the last thing you fall asleep on is the first thing you wake up on. So from my point of view, I do my gratitudes before bed, which kind of puts me in a different frame of mind. If it is one of them times where you just, you know, I've had an hard day and whatnot, and it puts you into a bit of a different mode. kind of learned. I've read a lot about The Secret Book, and it's, for me, it's helped me massively. You know, when them times are hard, it's about changing the way you train.
You'll have to share that philosophy with me. I think that'd be quite good. When you do share that with me. So why is Unique Clean so unique?
I'll tell you a story how I chose the word unique. I was actually working at JGB as one of the duty managers, fitness instructors down there. And I was interviewing somebody for a fitness instructor job. And I said, explain yourself in one word. And this girl who took on actually the job said, I'm unique. And from that point, I spoke to her afterwards and she said, I'm unique because there's only one of me type scenario. Yeah. So I thought, whenever I set a business up, maybe that is, if it is something I can involve in. And the reason why I feel like it's good with Unique is we're not just a company that just does window cleaning or we just do that. We crime scene cleaning, fire and flood restoration, TR19, we nationally throughout the country. So from my perspective, the clean company is unique because we are qualified in all these different areas where some companies will just stay to one thing. But as we are like working with certain clients and that, we'll be asked, can you, or are you qualified in this? And it's like, we're not, but we will go and learn it and we'll train.
Well, that was one question. One of my questions was, does it help that your business diversifies so much in different areas? Because let's say you're having a bad time in one area, your other area of your business is very successful ultimately.
Absolutely. It's like, for example, say if we just specialise in TR19, which is canopy extraction and canopy cleaning, if we did just specialise in that in COVID, would have been closed down because nowhere was open. But because we qualified in sanitising, and I've been for the last 10 years, because obviously a crime scene, you've got to do the sanitising afterwards. Yeah. Well, we were already doing fogging and sanitising at points. All we did is just move the business to sanitising and fogging in that time when it were needed. So by having all these different avenues to go from, whatever's going on in the world at the time, especially in the cleaning industry, you can hopefully put your energies and your time into just one or two of them areas if there's something bad obviously happening at the time.
I suppose it's like an eggs and basket scenario.
Absolutely. Ultimately. Yeah, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
With any business, I think you've got to have that ultimately. Yeah. And it's not always easy. And in regards to the current climate then, how is that affecting the business at the minute then?
So the main thing
is... Because obviously, just going on from that, obviously we've seen a lot of hospitality being affected. Yeah. A lot of other businesses, such as obviously we've seen construction, hospitality, they're all being affected. How's that affecting you?
Yeah, again, I think we go back to this eggs in one basket. Obviously, we do work in the construction industry. We do the builders clean and sparkle cleans and whatnot. If that slows down, we channel as energies into maybe TR19s, high level cleaning, like window cleaning. We do the contract cleaning, the fire and floods restoration. But we are on a lot of contractual works as well with schools and hospitals. So because they rent them buildings off another facility management company, they have to comply with, i.e. 2 external window cleans a year, 1 internal window clean, chewing gum removal, and that has to be kind of done at a certain time throughout the year. So we're fairly lucky that them contracts are in place because we know no matter what's going on, because they rent them buildings, they have to comply. So we're very fortunate, obviously, with that. So
that's lucky, really, because obviously for your type of business, you're having so many staff, cash flow is massive and it's king ultimately. How do you deal with debt in business?
So we have a strict policy now. We are with a service called Top Service, and we do give us clients, a bit of leeway and stuff, especially with what's going on with climate. But ultimately, I've got to make sure the staff are paid, the management are paid. So we're on a strict policy. We're giving us terms and conditions. When we send a quote out, it says these are our terms and conditions. Successful on the job. If we get that job, then obviously we send them our terms and conditions again. Look, this is our payment terms and what we expect. There is leeway with certain stuff, or certain clients say, look, we're just going through a bit of transition, or whatever the case, and you understand that. But if not, you have to, it's business end of the day, and there's that many companies that do go under, which isn't great.
So are you finding that then at the minute? Have you had some of your clients where unfortunately that's it?
In COVID we had a couple. We did, and you can't help that, can you? But if you keep you keep your accounts in line and chasing, and unfortunately then if they don't pay on that date, we have got a policy in place where then they can get charged percentage and stuff like that for obviously being over the payable dates. It's It's what we've
So
done.
hopefully that should mitigate the risk and put people off as well
Absolutely.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But obviously, within the current climate we're in, the biggest of businesses are folding at the moment in time. So it can be quite difficult for you as well at the same time.
Yeah, all you can do is obviously, put your terms and conditions to them, and then obviously as an accounts keep following up with what you need to do. Chasing them payments. It is hard, especially if people are struggling. But bottom line to it, you've also got your own bills to pay. And if you've done the work, then
technically, obviously
you should be getting paid for it. Yeah.
So how does it work with your competitors within the market? So have you got a lot of competition?
Well,
locally?
we have, because we've got so many areas that we can compete in.
Yeah.
We're not just like competing with that building cleaning company, or we're not just like City or 99. We've got so many competitors, because obviously we've got a wide range of services we offer. But to be fair, we do work with some of our competitors on other sites. We have gone where potentially people say, right, we need 20 cleaners today or whatever, and we've combined with other cleaning companies and done 10 and 10 and just kept to your own roles. We've done it locally with quite a few places. There's enough work out there, though, should be, for everybody. Yeah. So trying to step on each other's toes and stuff, it's not something we try and do. But we do work closely with some other cleaning companies.
And obviously, in regards to competitors, I think I'm more thinking down the lines of, are there any other competitors that do what you do in regards to your diversity in so many different areas within cleaning?
Locally, no, I don't think there's anyone that does what we do. Obviously, we've got the facility management company that backs up the cleaning company. We've got our own cherry pickers. We've got our own sizzlers, spiders. So not only do we have our own cleaning company, we have our own machines that we hire back to us as a cleaning company. So we're not reliant on other companies.
No.
And then on the side of that, we've got the facility management company, which can back up the cleaning company and vice versa. So I'm not aware of any companies that do the same as us locally and specialise in so many different areas on both the facilities and the cleaning side of things.
It's great, though, from your perspective, that essentially you are pretty much one of the biggest companies in the local area doing what you do.
As a whole round,
bit more of a go-to company, I would say, for a lot of people, ultimately.
Yeah, and we do work with a lot of local companies, so hopefully, we have got a good reputation locally. Like I said, it's we've got clients that we've had for 7, 8, 9, 10 years basically. And even when I was doing when I just started up,
and they followed you along, the journey ultimately.
Absolutely,
that's
so it's good. And to be fair, Pendle's been good with for startup grants with Boost, giving you additional grants and funding and training, and we've had a lot of training with Boost, which they came out and did some real branding with us and real life coaching with us to improve the management, the team, and to just to make the company a lot better. It's a brand in it, so it's been good.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so we are now discussing the future plans for Unique, but I've also noticed and come across Coalition. And what is Coalition and how does that work?
So Coalition, it's a name change. It used to be Unique Facilities Limited, but there were a bit of confusion with obviously Unique Clean, Unique Facilities. So we was obviously on all these approved suppliers lists as a cleaning company, and we was being asked to do facility management work. And the thing is, if you do something but you're not qualified or not knowledgeable within that area, you can those your contract within the cleaning.
Oh, well, there easy,
So I headhunted a facility manager from a local company who also did health and safety for us at the same time. So we got 2 for 1 with him. But basically, we started the facility management company, and then we got on the approved suppliers list with the local companies that the clean company was on. So then it was 2 definite separate identities and 2 companies running along each other, backing each other up and assisting each other, but actually had qualified people in each company within that sector, not kind of jack of all trades, master of none. We've then taken a business development manager on who's from a local big company as well, who's come in and really pushing the facility company. So Coalition it's doing really well at the moment. Like I said, they work hand in hand with each other. They're passing work to each other because they are kind of in the same sector, hard services and soft services, which work well together.
So with both businesses, then what are the plans for growth for Coalition and Unique ultimately?
I think for Coalition they want to try and catch Clean. I think that's a competition that we have here. As for Clean, it's to keep picking the local clients up. We have been all over the country, but obviously with fuel costs and everything at the moment, there's a bit of a model now where we're trying to say, look, we need to cut fuel costs slightly and expenditure costs. So we're trying to get more local work, and that can, you know, be from the networking or word of mouth and whatnot. And for Coalition, it's to really establish themselves as a big facility management company locally that can offer a whole wide range of services. We obviously have a good team of staff working for us, but we also have subcontractors that, you know, do a lot of other works for us that we don't have in-house.
Yeah. So coming back to that, how would you measure your success in the future? Where would you want to be maybe in 10 years' time, ultimately, as a business?
I mean, in 10 years' time, you'd be looking at trying to at least, you know, double, quadruple the turnover on both companies.
Yeah.
The thing is with facilities, you can get a job in that's crazy money. You know what I mean? If you do a big groundworks job where cleaning is a lot labour intensive, so every time you do a job, it's labour intensive work with cleaning. So, you know, in time to come, facilities could go past clean because, you know, it's big jobs, big construction jobs potentially. But like I say, with cleaning, it's very labour intensive. So for every pound you're making, it's an hour's work for a member of staff
and
getting the staff to do it.
I presume then Coalition side of it is more bigger jobs ultimately. I presume. Which then obviously helps for cash flow of any business ultimately.
Of course, and working partners. We have working partners with us now that work with us. That basically, you know, we get a job, we do the management side of it, health and safety side of it. They do the job, they get the job completion signed, and then we ultimately then pay them as a working partner because they're not actually your staff and they've got their own business. In effect, you're more likely to get it done on time and on
like
schedule.
Subcontractor ultimately.
In a way, but again, with some of these working partners with us, 2-3 days a week, you know, set days kind of working with us. So it's good because obviously, ultimately, they're not working with us on a payroll. No. They're working for once the job's completing to the standard that it needs to be complete. Then that's when obviously they sign off sheets.
And right at the beginning of this podcast, you touched on the array of things that you're doing, and I don't know how you're fitting it all in there. So let's talk about you being chairman of Colne Football Club. How did that come about?
So again, it was from being locally known from Colne, and you know, playing football myself. And to be fair, we got approached a few weeks. Well, we've been in the job 6 weeks now. We got probably approached 9 weeks ago. The ex-chairman was leaving through whatever circumstances. When we started indulging and going into all the finance side of it, they were in a financial mess, and basically we had to make a decision if we were going to obviously try and help them turn this around. They have 300 children in that academy. They have a ladies team, under 18s and 21s, and obviously ultimately the first team. And when we sat in that room with all these supporters and parents of children and players, and they were just looking at us saying, "Look, can you help us?" It was something I couldn't say no to. So we've spent quite a bit of time on it. You know, we've done masses of changes. The club's turning around massively, and we're on the up. There's still some hurdles to get over, but ultimately the club's getting self-sustainable, which it weren't. You know, and everyone locally has been supportive of it, so we can't thank that enough. Do you know what I mean?
And I did see quite a few bits really about footballers. Who's the most famous footballer you've had at Colne?
Well, obviously I've only been there
famous,
6 weeks,
but,
so I mean, you speak to some of the people that have been up there. I mean, the coaches, I think on a couple of years ago, Chris Kirtland. Who else has been up there? There's been a few that Colne have had in the time to come. I mean, obviously I've only been up there 6 weeks, but I think
I know. Chris actually did something with a local. It's called Men's Den. He did a local mental health group for men and mental health. And that was fantastic for him to show a little bit of support there. As the next, I think he did. Did he get his England cap? I think he got his England cap.
Well, I'm actually with him next week.
So
we're looking at building a bit of a network with them on. They do an energy drink, a really good energy drink that's actually all free from nasties. It's a natural energy drink. That'd be good, obviously, to promote that. And I'm going to try and help them also get it into a lot of other areas and a lot of other companies locally. So yes, we're together next week for that as well.
Fantastic. So we've got great things coming for Colne.
Well, hopefully we've got a massive cup game a week of Saturday against Fylde. Obviously they come down a division, they're still 2 divisions above us. If we win that, then you're in the cup with all the big boys, which is financially so rewarding to Colne. It's a big ask. But the last 2 games were big asks and we beat them. So fingers crossed, hopefully.
So the last question for you is, what would you do differently in business if you could start all over again?
I think one thing is, I've tried to go down a lot of avenues with different stuff, and a little, one of the things I probably look at changing is just take my foot off the accelerator a little bit. Instead of kind of jumping into, let's actually do a bit more research onto certain areas that I've done. I think if I'd have known about personal development and calmness and positivity earlier on in my days, it'd have helped massively. From my point of view, is if anyone's never done any of that type of thing, just have a quick look into it, because honestly, it's changed my whole way of thinking and calmness and how I react to situations, how I react to people. It's been
and
brilliant.
Sometimes you got to think about not running before you walk. You can walk as well as a business.
Absolutely.
Because you can overtrade, and we speak to people all the time. They're doing really, really well, but in fact they're overtrading because it essentially comes back down to probably can't get the staff in, can't manage the workload, can't manage what's going on in and around the business. And you might be a fantastic cleaner, but you're not a business owner. You don't know how to run a business.
Absolutely.
And this is where you need that support around you to help you succeed ultimately.
And I think learning how to talk to different people, whether the managers, whether the cleaners, whether anything, everybody reacts differently to how they're spoken to. If something goes wrong, how you react to it. And it's actually working out from an early stage of them being in employment with you or working alongside you, is how that they are as a personality and how they react to certain ways you react. And to be fair, everyone in Mars reacts differently.
Of course they do.
So you've got to weigh that person up, you've got to weigh how they are emotionally as well. Do you know what I mean? So
I think, coming back to staff, I think one of the hardest things in business is to manage your staff ultimately, as well as cash flow and people paying you money. But I think that is quite difficult. So if you've got a good ethos and you're very approachable as a business owner, which you are, that'll obviously put you in good stead, which are without a shadow of a doubt. Really.
Well, and motivating yourself. There is times when obviously the wind can be taken out your sails. And, I think you've just got to realise, again, going back to gratitude, really, realise where you've come at that point when you've had that bit of a knock or a bit of an hurdle you've not got over, and think, well, actually, look where I've come from there to here. Well, if I can do that, I can do it again. It can't be all just glory. It can't.
Well,
it's not
if business was like that, plain sailing, everyone would be doing it. And it literally is. It is like that, and that's what business is like,
it is.
without a shadow of a doubt.
No, it is.
And look, as long as you stick through the hard times, you definitely get out, and you deserve the successful times in the end.
No, thank you. Yeah, and I think, like I say, we as a company try and not be like an aggressive kind of a management team. I've been with some people and they are aggressive towards certain staff, and I think you just don't get anything from them. It just knocks them into a shell.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Do you know what I mean?
My biggest ethos is trying to make it a bit more like a family. Because ultimately, I always say to everybody, you got to enjoy coming to work. You spend more time at work than you do actually at home with your family. So if you don't enjoy coming to work, then essentially you're not going to enjoy your job effectively. So that's not right for you. So just before we go today, if somebody wants to utilise your services, how would they contact you?
The best thing is just go on the website. We've got a very good website. It's www.unique-clean.com. And actually the coalition website's on there as well. So they're both linking in together and connecting together. So anybody who wants to know our service can look on there, and there's an online form where if you send an inquiry form, it'll come straight through to myself. It'll deal with it in the right area where it needs to go.